The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. When will the African ever unite? Is unity only in summits? Like, what is unity for the African? When we are calling for the African to unite, how do we unite? Which ways do we need to follow in order to unite? What is coming out will shock you. According to the report that is circulating online, Ukraine has sent mercenaries to the countries that are surrounding Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, countries like Chad, Mauritania, and other places. And the question the Sahelians are asking, why will Ukraine send mercenaries around these countries? Countries that are closer to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. If we can remember some few months ago, there was an attack in Mali, the Tuareg rebel groups, and Ukraine came out claiming responsibility that they provided the intelligence and all that they needed for them to attack Mali that time. We're expecting African Union to rise up and fight. We didn't see any action from African Union, yet they are the ones who always sit down to talk about the African solution to the African problem. Why will Ukraine leave the fire that is on it from Russia and send mercenaries to these nations? Because they are not able to counter Russia, they are bringing it to Africa. And one time, even the President Zelensky said he wants to increase Ukraine's influence in Africa to counter Russia in Africa. And we have Africans who are ready to allow Ukraine into our territory, to be used against our own brothers. Then when we finish, we sit down and talk about the African solution to the African problem. We talk about Pan-Africanism. What is Pan-Africanism? I think our leaders must explain their own version of this unity we are talking about, of the Pan-Africanism that they see. Because we can't say we are Pan-Africans when we cannot rise up and help our brothers and sisters, when we cannot support our own.
Many media have spread information that there is a presence of Ukrainian mercenaries, then in the Saudi-Saharan band. In Africa, they cited countries like Mauritania, Libya, Sudan, Chad, etc. of Ukrainian mercenaries who, with these countries, are also trying to attack other countries, like the countries of Sahel, which is a serious security problem then. In West Africa on June 15, 2026, to Bamako, then His Excellence, Army General Assimi Goïta, head of state of Mali, received the Minister Mauritania of the Defense, Anana Ould Sidi, who was the bearer of a message from His Excellence, President Mauritania then Ghazouani. During the meetings, it was also to talk about of bilateral cooperation between Mauritania and Mali, and also talk about how to strengthen then a cooperation to fight against a common enemy. Ukraine is mentioned in several actions of aggression and destabilization of the Sahel countries. And during the events of the 25 April 2026 also in Bamako, then several analyses say that the Ukraine also has his hand in these attacks in Mali, which is a real security problem now. For the attention of the authorities of Mauritania, of worms to come to Mali to try to see together how to set up mechanisms and cooperations, shows that it is urgent that African countries get together to fight effectively. When you try to see the information on social networks, many people think that then there are Ukrainians and other enemies of Mali who are hiding then in Mauritania and also try to destabilize the Sahel. Anyway, the intention of the authorities of Mauritania to come to the Mali, especially the Minister of Defense, who carried the messages of His Excellence, President Ghazouani, shows how many times the will of the authorities, then Mauritanian women to get together with Mali to fight effectively against a common enemy. For the security then of the region. In Africa, in which the Sahara is deeply destabilized with many young people who have come to power, who cannot stabilize the security in their country. You have at the moment in Bamako, Mali, you remember 12 years ago, we were intervening in Mali to prevent Bamako from falling into the hands of jihadists today. You have jihadists who prevent supplies, in essence from the capital with a youth, who called on Russian expeditionary forces to protect themselves, to try to restore security. They can't do it. On the other hand, they managed to take all the wealth of the country. We observed that the techniques of the drones that are used today on our continent in the war between Ukraine and Russia, this technique is learned by terrorist groups in the Sahel. Everything that happens around us, some have made the choice of the strength. And Russia today is convinced that Europeans are weak. She is convinced of this, but he calls destabilization. This is the bill for a decade of French military operations who have never solved the threat to the Sahel, at most globally in Africa. They rather moved it or at 12 years in Mali. Bases of operations, billions, to end up with more red zones than...
We only see their standby forces active whenever something is happening to the oppressor's rule, which is democracy. That is the time you can see how active and how united the African leaders are, but not when we are fighting against that system. That time we don't see how active the standby force is. And we ask our leaders, for how long will we continue to be giving solutions to our problems in speech when we need practical solutions to solve our problems? And for how long will the African allow himself to be used against his brother or sister, like we are seeing happening right now in South Africa? Our brothers and sisters in South Africa are rising against their own kind, simply because they believe that they are their problem. They have taken their jobs, which they have never created. And all the people we are seeing them sacking are people who establish their own businesses, not government employed. That is what is happening to us all over Africa. We tend to love other people and not love ourselves. The same people who do not want to have anything to do with the African. We are watching. Ukraine is expanding. How did we even get here with these TT activities? It started in Libya, where Muammar Gaddafi was alive. Like the president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, said, after Libya, they started spreading. So today they make it look as if it's because we have leaders who are military in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. That is why we're having these activities. But they forgot to talk about Nigeria, that is a democratic state. The bandits have taken over. We are seeing the videos, what they are doing to people, and point a finger at the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. We even have the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, openly pointing a finger at the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, telling the whole world that Nigeria is suffering because of these countries. Yet, when this activity started in Nigeria some years ago, by then, these military leaders were not the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. We had democratically elected leaders. The African is always quick to point a finger at his brother without accepting responsibility. If this thing started in Libya and all the African leaders watch it grow and expand, how then does it become the problem of the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Just like we are watching what Ukraine is trying to do here. If our leaders don't stop it now, it's the same way it's going to expand. And then tomorrow, they'll point the fingers. Instead of pointing the fingers at the things that they refuse to take responsibilities for, they will now point a finger at the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso and claim they are the reason to which we have these activities. Whereas the Libya, the whole world promised them. They don't want to talk about the failed Libya they gave to the Libyans. Yet they are still pointing a finger. Look at Libya today after Gaddafi fell. For how long will we continue to be doing this to ourselves? Ukraine is on fire. Ukraine can't fight its war on its soil, but they are trying to make Africa, that we are not connected to Europe, the next battlefield. Just simple because they cannot defeat Russia, they must bring it to Africa because they know the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are with Russia. We cannot have leaders who will be protecting us in speech. Like the president of Sierra Leone, the ECOWAS chairperson said, Julius Maada Bio, that you see these are democratic elected leaders. They protect borders instead of protecting the people. And for how long will you, the leaders, protect the borders instead of protecting the people you sworn to lead? If you truly protect us, this would have been the time all of you will stop the talking and act. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great. So that's the latest around the world.